Kotone. Let's see. And now these Sundays got me feeling like Mondays. Hey, hey. Hey everyone, hello. I know today again the setup is très interesting, and that's because I honestly don't like when I use the other thing I gotta move it back and forth. And I feel like this is good enough. So I'm gonna do a major minor chord, but I'm gonna do 3 rounds, and I'm gonna use this to clarify at the end. Energy Oracle cards. Going in with SKT. And y'all see, like, I got my little selenite ball. I brought it down today. I got Tone Link because it's all about that inner child warrior right now. And then the rest of the stuff is already down there. So, I mean, Tone Link was already there, but I just moved him a little bit. So, yeah, we're going to be doing... I want to do all the majors first, though. And then I want to do the court. I thought these were separated. I really thought these were separated. Oh well, we'll just have to separate them. And then I'll see what the major and the court kind of sort of are telling us. Oh, why is something like this thing? Uh-oh. Let me make sure my laptop ain't in sport mode real quick. No, it's still in comfort mode, okay. It's just making a little bit of noise. Well, I see the seeker on the... Okay, it is. I was like, I really thought I left it in this sort of setup. Oh, y'all can't see none of that. It's fine. I should have just set it up, shouldn't I? You know what? It ain't too late. Give me a moment, and I'll be right back. And now these Sundays, I guess y'all can still hear me. Got me feeling like Mondays. Hey, yeah. There we go. Okay, so bear with me because I can't adjust this and not stream. Honestly, though, that's all right. That's good enough. Ooh, that's a touch better. I like that. We're gonna have it in facing this way. Let me pull. I still want the selenite little bottle to be featured, so we're gonna pull her back a little bit. Boom. How do I wanna? Oh, I know how I wanna do this. I need to find the spot. There it is. All right. Oh yeah, you can see it back here. Okay. I just remembered that when I did it was a pick a card that wasn't a pick a card on my legacy channel. And I was using the Waternon archetypes, animals, and tarot, I think. And I had my little crystals set on top. And then I think it was my black tourmaline broke. I was like, what? My tourmaline just broke? I was like, oof. Man, maybe even back then I should have known. I'm just playing. Okay, so let's get into this. I'm gonna do the three majors first, and then I'm gonna pull the court and the minor down to see how we're kind of interacting with it. And it's just what I kind of sort of felt led to do, you know? So that's what I'm gonna do, you know? I hope everyone's doing well. Times are certainly interesting. I feel like they've calmed down, question mark, even though I know that that probably isn't the case. Probably not. So many interesting things happen. And also, I think I might be taking a little break hiatus from meat because I don't want to go into TMI territory, but um, I just think my body is not liking it. And I've had a lot of like ground beef in the past 2 days because I wanted some egg rolls. And so I got some ingredients for my grandmother so she can make me some egg rolls, make us some egg rolls. It's interesting because she was like, how many egg rolls did you want? Because you're sharing with the family, right? And I was like, well, I wasn't originally planning on sharing unless you wanted some egg rolls because you're making them. And then I was like, JK, LOL, I'll take like 4 or 5. And she was like, oh, I know you're playing grandson. Like, that ain't how we get down. And I just had to laugh because I knew what my mama would say. And then I told my mama, and she was like, well, she must not know you. She be acting like I'm so selfish. I mean, I can be a little bit, but that's just when, like, if I get something and then I set it out and I don't bring it back in my room, but then it's all gone before I even get any of it, then it's like, that's when I get a little bit upset. Because it's like, I don't care. Like, I don't mind sharing, but I wanted some of this. You know what I mean? Maybe that's unreasonable for me. But, like, she don't do the same thing. We all got our own little stashes. But for some reason, I get called out on it because maybe my little stash be the biggest or whatever. But I share like 9 times out of 10 when people ask, unless it's like, because there are sometimes I get some like foods or snacks for a very specific reason, and that'll be the only time when I won't share. Like if I get something to eat while I do a specific activity, like watch a movie, right? Then it's like I'm not gonna share that. Also, I had like this. I was going through it a few years ago, and I bought these little snacks that they were the frosted animal cookies, but the ones that are covered in sugar and like sprinkles and stuff. And I got them because I was going through a little bit of a rough time. I was basically working 2 jobs and like finishing up being a student and trying to pack up my room at the same time. So I was exhausted, and those cookies were my little like inner child sort of like getaway, like they were my sanity. Okay, 4 cups. Oh, the hollow void. Oh, I moved the camera. 4 cups, the hollow void. um and so then somebody asked for one and I was like no, because like those I got for the purpose of not of surviving, of surviving and just making it through that very busy time. And boy, it was stressed. Okay, so let's get into this, shall we? Almost feel like that's fine. Okay, all right. So we're gonna reveal the first major. Well, no, we'll do it this way. I'm trying to get these in frame. On frame. And so that works. So the first major we're dealing with is the New World Order, which is the world. This is Saturnian energy. Also, we see all that fixed energy. We got the angel for Aquarius, the bird for Scorpio, the bull for Taurus, and the lion for Leo. Also, I guess like tigers are coming back. White tigers specifically have kind of sort of been popping up within the past few days. And also zebras. And it's interesting because I got this zebra tripod first, and then I'm starting to see all these like zebra messages or like all this zebra stuff coming out. I actually love the white tigers. I mean, like, who wouldn't? And we have like this little, it's like a stiff stuffed white tiger that we've had for like ever. And my baby cousin, the one who I was talking about in that one trip I had, she was over here the other day and she went into my mom's room and she pulled it out. And I was like, oh, it's not, oh, I guess my parents' room. And she pulled it out. And I was like, I ain't seen that little white tiger in a minute. I actually have a picture with it, but let me see. Let's see if I can find it real quick. And it'll be a little bit of a throwback before we get into this. I wonder how my god brother is doing. I have not talked to that man since I was literally a child. His name is Khalil. And I found out he went to like Harvard or something. I was like, oh my gosh. I ain't seen my godmother in forever either. And she's actually the one that gave me Tigger on my second birthday. Okay. I know this bit is slightly irrelevant, and I do want to cut out a bit of the chatter, but something in here. Well, I don't think I have any white tiger symbolism in here, so it may not pop up, but it might. You never know. And all that I wanted to leave so easily, you just walk away. My life is full of ripped up pages, I've been weak, contagious, but I'm coming back to me. I'm praying that everything changes, how things turn to basics. But I'm coming back to me. It's not looking like I have the picture, so we may just move on. I really thought I did. Really, really, really thought I did. But I guess not. Oh, it's right here. So I took, or this was my profile picture, January 29, 2011. So quite a long time ago. And you may not really be able to see it, but there you go. Can y'all see that little white tiger? It's like this little stuffed white tiger thing we got. And there's me as a child. Oh, goodness. I made a video, one of my first videos, I believe, on this channel, or on my Legacy channel, like 6 months after that, before I went to college. And I'm just like so young and innocent, I guess. And I'm just like, wow. I remember being that kid before I went off to college. Now look at me. But now look at me. Okay. So we're starting with the New World Order. And it's interesting that this is a New World Order because it, implies that there's an old world order. Or there's a way of doing things in the past that we're no longer doing. Now, what's also interesting is this New World Order is associated with fixed energies instead of like a cardinal energy or a mutable energy. Now, this could be a challenge, especially if we have like a stubborn like king of anybody from the Swords Court, honestly, king or queen, a king of wands. Anyway, let me not get all the way deep into that because it's primarily about these majors right now. Anyway, that's how I wanted to set this up. And then we'll find out where we are or some different stuff down here. But yeah, it's interesting that on this New World Order we have these fixed energies. If it's supposed to be a New World Order, again, like you'd assume it'd be like mutable or something, right? Like we're in between worlds before it's established. But I guess this is kind of insinuating that the New Order is already established. And we're in this mutable time to realign with what is already to come. And it's giving me like a Piscean energy, but it's more fixed. The Piscean energy is the space of a collective dream or the collective subconscious or the space of collective dreams, but it's not necessarily mutable. It's already fixed. Oh, what is this? Oh, I lost it. It's like there's something like on the brink of my mind. It's like on the tip of my brain, and it was almost there. It was like an image of something. Um, but yeah, this is what we're coming into, and what also is interesting. This pelican is feeding these little birds her blood. And I forgot it was that. I thought she just had like three little worms in her mouth, and they were all whatever. That's a little grotesque. I'm sorry. Now my stomach is starting to turn a little bit. Oh. But it's also interesting. I saw on Twitter yesterday. It was a TikTok. I ain't on TikTok. I I'm still on Vine. And so when TikTok came after Vine left or whatever, or when whatever came after Vine, I was just like, you know what? I'm still not over Vine. So I ain't gonna be on TikTok. But, they're posted everywhere. Anyway, that's besides the point. She was like, if you have these like toxic family members or whatever who'll be like, blood is thicker than water, then kindly remind them that the full saying is the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. And that's the bonds that we choose. Our chosen family holds more significance to us than our birth family, because the birth family is the family that, through circumstances and situations outside of our control, we just kind of sort of end up in. And it's fine, but when it's not fine is when people sort of take advantage of those bonds and they do things that they shouldn't do to people that they quote unquote love or care for or whatever. But then through that bond of family, it's expected that you just put up with it. And I'm not that type of person. Some people are. But this is also, I guess it's reminding me of this. And so I guess the covenant would be, it's almost like before, it's like this phoenix that has babies, right? And when the phoenix goes off to transform, there'll be almost no one to look after its babies because it's going to be a pile of ash for a hot second, right? And so it's almost like that's sort of the last meal. It's like its last dreams, it's its last desires. And it's entrusting the vision to these three little birds and hoping that by the time it re-arises, that not only will they be in a position of prominence, but the world that they create and influence will be one that more closely aligns to the space of these collective hopes and dreams and desires. For like peace and good stuff like that, right? Now we're going from that New World Order to the Tower. So maybe I'm reading this backwards. But honestly, no. Because like I said, it's like this New World Order, it's interesting that it's already established. It's already fixed. And you would think that it'd be cardinal or mutable in that space of transition or newness. So this tower is what happens when we align on the physical with what has already been established. And I want to say documented. Documented is the word that's coming into my mind, but that's not the word I want. But it's like the architect has already written up the blueprint, right? And before we rebuild on top of this plot of land, we got to knock down what's already there. Now, if there are pieces of the foundation at current that work with the new space, maybe it can be saved or salvaged. But honestly, I don't know how much of that, we're taking with us. Some of it by choice we can take if we really wanted to. But again, this is the energy of everything coming down. And now that Uranus is in retrograde, even though the tower is associated with Mars, and Uranus is kind of sort of the fool energy, but it has a little bit of a semblance to the tower a little bit in the way that it operates. Um, but I do love like the axe at the bottom of the tower. That's the axe of Shiva that cuts out corruption, right? And so again, it's like the corruption is just it's the things that don't align with the space that we're heading into. And I'm not gonna project over here. I'm not gonna do that. I already said I wasn't gonna do it, so I'm not gonna do it. And so we're going from the bottom to the top. This would be like if there is a progression, it could all just be whatever. I almost slap this ball right off the edge of the tape. Um, these could be things happening concurrently. I mean, it honestly feels like they're happening concurrently, but it also could be a bit of a like um, first in order of chronology, second in order of chronology, and then third in order of chronology. And so we're going to be sitting at the initiate, the Fool. When I was just like, I feel like, technically the Fool is more of a space of Uranus. Well, here it is right here. And Uranus just went retrograde. Also, August is almost over. We're officially over halfway through August. And it's a lot. It's a lot. This year is really like flying. It was literally just like May, and now it's already August. I remember being like, yeah, I think I'll be done with all my stuff by the end of June. And it's the middle of August. I'm trying not to. It's like I want to get this stuff done, but also at the same time, I'm not fighting it. And I don't know, it's all very interesting, but I try to take the timing as it comes. So this is us. This is that newness. This is that freshness. And in this Fool card, we have the Orphic Egg, Cosmic Egg there. All elements represented inside the egg, with the snake coiled around it being the element of life and or spirit. We can see that it's almost like maybe the snake will be long enough to like get its head across to the other side and then just like pull its body up or something. Also, there's a little guardian that sleeps, but it awakens when we go down the path. And that little guardian could be a number of things, okay? So I think I'm actually going to start up here and then work my way back down. So with this initiate energy, and again, I feel like the tower into the initiate, it's like this space that we're coming into is more or less already established. But just like with everything, we have to catch up to it on the physical and in our own personal lives. And when we catch up to it on the physical and in our own personal lives, it gives us the ability to deviate from this. I don't want to say it's inevitable, but it gives us the opportunity to introduce external factors that can quicken or slow down the process, or we can kind of sort of circumvent it altogether in a way. But if we circumvent it, it's like we're going to be ending up on the outside, and we're going to be that person constantly talking about, back in my day, things were like this, and I miss the days when we can do that, and blah, 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 blah. Right? You can miss all of this and be stuck in the past if you want to. But as a whole, the world is going to shift and change and move around you. Like one monkey don't stop no show, and you can think whatever you want, but when it comes time for a season or a cycle to change and end, that season and cycle is going to change and end. And mentally, you can kind of sort of try to lock yourself in a certain space, but it's like the whole world is going to be progressing around you. Okay. So we're starting with the Page of Wands, and I love this energy. Every time I see the Page of Wands, I'm like, oh, the tail resumes, because it's like the tail on the salamander that was cut off by somebody with a sword has now grown back. Also, it's reminding me of the lizards from the Ace of Wands in the Pride Tarot, that basically, like, it's an all-female species of lizard. There are no males, and they have biologically evolved to reproduce without the need for males, because there are no males, right? There's only females in the species of lizard. And this is also a messenger from the realm of fire, which could be the vision, which could be desire. It's like, I always want to say like my friend or my buddy, but like Wrestling Around is a channel that I enjoy immensely right now, or immensely because it's an I and not an E, whatever. But he was like, fire is kind of sort of, what did he say? It was today on his new moon in Leo reading. He was like, fire is an element of vision, but vision without the water of emotion does something. It's the gateway of desires, passions, and visions. Maybe that have yet to be realized. And let's see how we interact with this. Oh, well, the Two of Cups. So there could be. Well, here's the water that matches this fire, which is interesting because it's like between the two of these, more or less, we have everything that we need to begin this journey. But there's something here about being emotionally balanced with the world around us, which means I feel like a lot of that empath narcissist type stuff we are being called to leave behind through the vein of, it's like this gate of self love, or this gate of self awareness, or this gate of self respect. All of these self things that would prevent us, or that would encourage us to not overly give to situations that are not giving to us. It's about being conscientious about how we spend and where we give this sort of emotional energy. Because too much water will douse this fire, and not enough water, the fire will overcome it and evaporate it into air. It's about creating a balance between these. And then on the cup it says, what, abyssus abyssum est, which is like the abyss in me calls to the abyss in you, the depths in me call to the depths in you, or the depths in you call to the depths in me, or whatever. And it's also interesting that in this card, she's depicted two hands, where with the lovers, in the Memory Keeper Six of Cups, in the lovers, and in the demon, the feminine and masculine are represented by the phoenix and the dragon. But their hands here, instead of that phoenix and the dragon. Also, here's this lion head up there, so that could be, we're coming up on a new moon in Leo, and here's a fire energy right here. And then here's an air energy. And air, when it comes to the space of fire, is really, it's like when air comes to fire, it's a space of expansion. But when air comes to water, it's a space of solidification, right? It ignites the flame, but it cools the water to the point where it'll freeze. Now, what's interesting is that air in both of these situations is expansive, because when water freezes, water is one of those compounds that actually expands as it freezes instead of shrinking as it freezes, like a lot of stuff does. And it happens because of the hydrogen bonding and the intermolecular structure of water. Whereas when it's a liquid or when it's a gas, it's like these bonds are like continuously formed and broken. But when they freeze, or when you freeze water, then it locks these bonds into place. So if you imagine that like this is the length of a hydrogen bond, but like when it's liquid water, it like does this, but then it breaks and it keeps moving. Or if it's gas, like it'll do this, but then break and keep moving. And so it's like it's more or it's smaller, or it can fit in a smaller container because these bonds aren't fixed. But when you hold these in place, that's the maximum distance that they will have between them, and it locks it in place. And so that's why it expands as it freezes, and then it expands the fire, because you get an explosion if you get a whole bunch of oxygen to a fire, because combustion reactions, and then hydrogen bonding. Oh, taking me back to chemistry. Okay. And I mean, also, and the energy of the Fool came up yesterday, didn't it? When we were talking about sort of crossing that chasm. Oops. Um, and so the only elements not represented here are air and earth, but between water and fire, you can kind of sort of make everything, right? The earth could be the ash, and the air would be the steam. Speaking of ash, maybe this, I know it's supposed to be like a pelican or whatever, because that, not whatever, because that's what she put. Uh, I think she's changing up this card because I'm glad that that ain't red or whatever. Because a lot of times I look at it, it looks like worms, and I don't want to have to think about Mama Pelican piercing her own flesh to feed her babies her blood. Like, please no. But it's interesting because I was talking about this sort of phoenix going into the ash phase before it's reborn. And so another thing, it's like this is what the world is kind of sort of going through as things are sort of changing hands and shifting. But us within ourselves, with the new judgment energy, uh, by the new judgment energy, I mean the card that I found in the Pride Tarot, which actually came out yesterday over here, I believe. Yeah, because it was Justice and then the Three of Pentacles and then Judgment. And that deck, Judgment is the space of like when we don't have to die in order to live or to be reborn, right? And I think that's also where this water really comes into play. Because it's like this water will temper out the fire or balance out the fire to the point where we're not incinerated into like piles of ash. And it's not to say that things won't get hot or that things aren't hot, but they're not hot to the point where, we're a pile of ash, unless you want to come back in another incarnation, potentially, possibly, and try to do it then. But again, I feel like that's not it. So coming down to this tower, we're sitting at the Queen of Swords, the Scarlet Shield, yeah, and okay. The Champion. I'm gonna try to read these two ways because I feel like I have a very, like, I already know what I was feeling for this energy, and that was stubbornness and it was resistance to this tower. And so this could be in a lower light or in a certain lens or perspective. This could be us sticking to, like I've been talking about, the Kings and Queens 1.0 energy, us sticking to the methods in which we found victory in the past. And this is us trying to, it's like we have this throne built upon lands that are sinking into the ocean. It's like we're like the captain of these sinking ships, and they say that a captain, and I guess this goes back to the SYOS reading or whatever in a way, but they say that a captain should go down with its ship, his or her ship, or their ship. A captain should go down with their ship if the crew and the passengers have to go down. But if everyone else is evacuated, then it's like, what are you going down for? And I initially wanted to pull two more cards for these, and I think I will go ahead and do it as a sort of space of alternative. Sort of. Hold on. Yeah, that feels right. Give me one moment, please, as I rearrange the cards on the table. I was feeling like, oh, I should do like two sides just in case. And I was like, nah, that's a little excessive. But now I'm like, doing it. Because again, I'm just feeling like this is so stuck to the ways that we found victory or mobility or whatever in the past. And that may be one reason why there could be some resistance to things changing, because it's like, if you already figured it out one time, who wants to go back and try to figure it out again? If you've already found success once, who wants to sacrifice that for, you know, um, it's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And it's kind of sort of also like, I don't really care about what goes down in the rest of the world. As long as I'm good and as long as I'm floating, then that's all that matters. And then there are some selfish captains that will know that they're on a collision course, and instead of informing the people, what they'll do is they'll make their preparations in secret to evacuate, and then the ship goes down with no captain on board. And when it comes to the real world, we're kind of sort of all in charge of being the captains of our own ships. But at the same time, if you establish a certain relationships comes with certain responsibilities, right? Shepherds are responsible for their sheep, and it's not for any of us to necessarily be sheep. But at the same time, when you deem yourself a shepherd, there comes some responsibility. And now that I say that, it's almost like it's interesting. But it's almost like while this tower is happening, there are these captains who are assuring the people on their boat that are on their vessel that everything is fine and everything is under control and that there will be victory. And in the past, it's like, we want to eliminate or reduce sort of like panic and stuff like that, because when people panic, then enters this realm of unpredictability and a sort of realm where it's harder to control, right? Because it's almost like people go from that air side, that earth side, into that water and fire side, right? When everyone's self-preservation kind of sort of begins to kick in, and then when people are looking for somebody to blame, and you know that the way that things have been manufactured in the past, there's been a lot of deflecting onto other people's instead of a proper sort of recognition of the true source of all of this sort of discomfort or contention or whatever. But it's like at this point, the deflection, I mean, for some people it's still working, so I don't know. But it's going to reach a certain point when it's like, it's going to reach a certain point when people start to maybe potentially where their eyes start to open. And again, that's probably the case when it's like, hey, you told us that everything would be fine. You told us that everything would be okay. And it's interesting because I watched the show on Hulu last night. And there's this whole town that's been held hostage. And they met the demands of this organization to release the people of the town. And then the dude is like, you know what? I actually changed my mind. And then they're like, what? And so they're all mad at the officials of the city for giving in to the demands. And they kind of sort of expected the officials of the city to give in to the demands in the first place to ensure their safety. But when that didn't ensure their safety, now they want to turn on the people who did exactly what they expected them to do or what they wanted them to do. But since it didn't have the desired outcome, again, it's like we're looking for somebody to blame. And then so someone else comes in and does PR, and they're like, we made that decision because at the time it was our best chance of saving all of y'all. And I feel like we're misdirecting this anger and this frustration. Instead of like putting it on the officials, we should put it on the people who's subjecting us to this situation in the first place. And then they came out with someone who was personally affected by this organization like decades before this siege even took place. And then it was enough to motivate them to, shift that where it was supposed to be. But yeah, I'm actually going to read down this whole side first. And then we come into this Ace of Fire, Ace of Scepters, the Holy Sacred Fire. What is this? Sacred Fire? Hold on, wait. Yeah, Sacred Fire. I was like, okay. Sacred Fire energy with the Giver. Why did there's this one movie, I think her name is like Amanda Steinberg, is that her name? The Hate You Give. Six of Wands into the Six of Pentacles. Honestly, the energy here is like everything that you've taken will be taken from you. And again, going from the Queen of Swords, it's almost like, again, it's like the analogy and the metaphor of that ship that's on a collision course with a captain that is trying to assure its people, passengers and crew, that it's okay, when this captain has actually accepted a certain inevitability of things. And with the World card, it's also about endings and completions. The Ace of Wands, this is about purification with the element of fire. And then here's the ash, these balls of ash, that comes after things have been purified. Also notice that like there's no water down here. And again, like water was the opportunity to kind of sort of meet this fire and to avoid this, ash situation. It's almost like there's nothing here to truly temper this. And what's missing here? Here, this is all logical. And there is a certain element of truth with the Queen of Swords. But with this queen, it's about the guardian of the gate of the unseen world. And so it's almost like there's this clouded vision or obscured vision up here, but things are going to reach the point where everyone knows and everyone can see, and that's this huge torch. I feel like a lot of people are looking for, not a lot of people. I feel like we're in a time where it's really easy to try to find ways, yeah, a lot of people, to escape our karma, for lack of a better word, consequence. We're looking for a way to escape the consequences of our actions. We've done all of these things for acclaim and recognition, and we stepped on all of these people, and we've used and abused so much in order to buy into the system that was sold to us. But it's like down here, there's gonna come a point where it's a certain element of retribution. It's a certain element of rebalancing these scales, and these are pentacles. These are orbs. Like these things I'm getting, they're very heavy, and we gotta balance them. What's also interesting is that with this upper hand, the orbs on the scale right now are shaded roughly equally. If y'all can tell, y'all may not be able to tell, but they're shaded roughly equally. Now you see that really dark one up there, and that really, where is it? Dark one right there. There it is. It's like this. Where's my finger? This, everything is backwards. This really dense one is next in line on our side, but on the divine side, that really dense one is last. And what's last on our side is the lightest one, or one that is equally as light or dark as the one currently on the scale. But that's assuming this up and down exchange. It could be the case This is 6. That happened in Aries season. 6 months from Aries season would be Libra season, which is September, mid-September, right? March, April, May, June. I'm getting like this could be 6 months, or the six, like there's this period of 6, and I think all of these are actually falling from the divine, instead of it being like these go down and these go up. And this is like us sort of like handling them as they come down, if we've chosen to. And there's something about seeing things with a certain clarity as they've been happening, which more so is rising to the occasion. It's almost like, in some weird, not completely true way, because y'all know I'm just talking, but it's almost like what's happening is a way to atone for everything. And that's what I was initially feeling. It's like we're going through these things because it's like, well, how could we possibly, as a country and as just a global whole, rise to fix what has been broken for so long? But again, I feel like, going back to what I was saying or feeling in June, it's not about, or it's more about taking and handling the things as we get them, taking what we can, learning from that, growing from that, transmuting that, and then releasing it. Because I feel like still there's this heavy, heavy undercurrent of just things that are kind of sort of, in a way, purifying and cleansing themselves. But we still have to do that to some degree consciously within ourselves. Because if we don't, this is the energy that we're going to carry forward. Like I said, this is being stuck in that, like back in my day or in my time, when the times have already changed. Don't quote me, but there's a lot that we're not even responsible for down here. We're not responsible necessarily for the genesis and creation of what has happened. Now, some people who have progressed it, sure. Folks who have taken advantage of it, sure. But it just feels like we've already been released from the heaviest of these burdens, but there are still things within ourselves that we need to correct and fix. And if we don't see anything wrong, oh my gosh, people need to stop with these smells. I'm eating like rice and broccoli and maybe beans today because I had too much meat in my body. It needs a cleanse a little bit. And so that's what I felt that I do. So it's what I'm going to do. But it smells good. Anyway, if we don't take these opportunities, then it's almost like we'll sink and we'll be made ash. So yeah, let's see what's on the other side of this. So on the other side of the tower, oh wow, is the ebony shield, the Queen of Pentacles, who's the guardian of the physical realm. So there's the guardian of the mental realm, and then the guardian of this is the seen realm in the pentacle, in the orb, and the unseen realm in the sword. And I'm just going to get right into what she's bringing. She's bringing the Ten of Pentacles, the dynasty. So there still isn't really any water, but we have shifted from a heavy masculine focus with air and fire to a more feminine focus with the earth. And if the earth is the earth that we live on is primarily water. And so it's like there is a bit of water within these pinnacles before the fire, because the fire is going to evaporate out all of the water inside of them and leave it these piles of ash. Who this? Who's that? It's my mama. Girl, I'm staying in my room all day. Oh, that was my iPad. I was like, that's not my ringtone. Why did it make that noise? My mom was like, this trash need to go out when you come out here. I'm like, okay, well, I ain't going out today. I got plenty of bottles in here. Let me stop. Anyway, back to this. So we have the Queen of Pentacles with the Ten of Pentacles. I'm honestly not feeling this is any better, and I'm not going to pull another one. Well, okay, actually, so this is all about sort of the structures and the systems that we've created to sort of establish ourselves and to get a foot in the world. But this is speaking to the natural bounty and abundance that exists all around us. This queen is a man or masculine. This queen is feminine, and usually that's fine, right? Because this princess, she's not a prince, she's the princess. And so here is a masculine energy in a role that's typically feminine, and here's a feminine energy in a role that was prophesied to be occupied by a masculine. And then here's this feminine element in her space connected to this sort of limitless abundance that exists all around us. And so I guess Dayat, or Da'at, or whatever, however you pronounce it, the void space, where is it? It's right there. The void space could be what fuels all of these other sort of emanations on the tree of life. And I don't know why I've been thinking about that so much lately. But it's like I feel like it's almost this portal to the other side of the tree. And the tree is complete as is, but nothing that man can conceive of will ever be complete, right? So it's like Dayat almost holds the space of everything that we don't necessarily conceive of. And it's the things that we, even though we can't conceive of them, everything else is still affected by them. We just don't have the capacity at this time to really understand it. But again, with this Queen of Pentacles standing directly opposite to this Queen of Swords, I feel like it's not necessarily for us to try to make sense out of. It almost feels like something that can't be explained, it can only be experienced. And when you experience it, it's like there are no words to explain what this is. And you can try and try and try, but you'll forever fall short. Again, it's like because Dayat is that thing that escapes all definition, that it's impossible to define, but it's important for us to give it a name anyway and to know that it is there. And I feel like this is kind of sort of also the trust that we're coming into, to be provided for and to be cared for by Spirit in a very nurturing and present way, right? Rather than I don't want to say rather than, but instead of like a more watery sort of like feeling type of way, this is like a physical way that we are being maintained, kept safe, kept afloat, or something like that. Whereas this would have us continue to fight and struggle for whatever kind of sort of dominance or dominion that there may be to gain. And this tower is happening again to try to get us to bridge the gap from this fool into this new world. Because it's like it's already here on this side, but we have to come into it on this side, right? This is where it goes up, and this is where it comes back down. It's like the water cycle, right? But yeah, it's like everything, like there's so much calm and peace in the trust and in the showing up and in the handling and doing of whatever as it comes. Let's see. So we end up with the Knight of Cups. Okay, there's our water. So we have both elements of feminine. We got the Queen of Pentacles with the Knight of Cups. It's interesting because we get Yang masculine, Yang feminine, and then Yin masculine and Yin feminine. All elements are represented here. And this is leading us to oof. The Ten of Wands. It's also, so we go from 6 of fire to 6 of earth. And then we go from 10 of earth to 10 of fire. So there's definitely, because the fire is like the masculine side of femininity. And then the earth is the feminine side of masculine energy. Earth is yang, earth is yin masculine. Fire is yang feminine. Right? And then we have the yang side of both masculine and feminine on this side. And then we have the yin side of both masculine and feminine on this side. Water for air, or water for fire, earth for air. And it's also interesting that this, it's like this Knight of Cups is presenting us the Shining Grail, the Shining Dew, sorry. The Shining Dew is presenting us with the cup, but then looking back at the fire again, because there's a certain element of temperance here, or of balance here, that needs to exist between the water and the fire in order to prevent this ashing. And it's almost like when you're purifying something. Oh, just like the sterilization homework that I still haven't finished, but it's basically done. It's like at this point, I need to just submit this work, but now I'm trying to go back in and tweak all this other stuff. It's because of the perfectionist in me, and I need to just like let it go and move on. In multiple ways, I need to just let it go and move on. And so maybe what I'll do is I'll just go back and convert my code back to what it already was, and then, because there's also a bit to explain the model anyway. And so it's like, these are some of the assumptions I ran. These are the simplifications I ran. If you want something more accurate, eliminate these and just go straight in. And again, it's like, why am I trying to correct for this right now and to delay completion when I can just as easily explain my reasoning and receive like just as much credit, right? It's like, not everything necessarily has to be done. It's like there are sometimes we can learn from someone else's experience, or we can vicariously experience certain things through other people so that we don't necessarily have to experience the fullness of it within ourselves. Sometimes we can let old fears and old patterns just go. And even when we're encountered with the situation, we don't have to, like I think I talked about it on this channel before, how I was afraid of my dad's dog Sixer. But even when I stopped being afraid of Sixer, I still acted like I was afraid of Sixer. And so there was a period in time where it's like, you know, Sixer would be chilling in the house until I came to visit. And then when I came to visit, since I was still playing scared of Sixer, then Sixer had to go outside while I was in the house. And then, like, when I was even older, I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to pretend like I'm afraid of Sixer anymore. And Sixer was actually like a chill dog. I mean, Sixer was much older by that time too, but still, he was like chill. Sixer was so chill. And I was like, wow, I was like, why was I still acting like I'm afraid of this? But anyway, there's something about unnecessary work. And so I guess here is this space where we can begin to release. But when you come from this mentality, This mentality would never allow release because you see how she has that stave stabbed into her leg. It's like she gets some sort of it's like a, what do you call it? It's like a, oh, it's not, it's like, it is a little masochistic. I think last time I said like I'm not sadistic, I meant to say I'm not masochistic. Like, I don't like pain. I am very pain averse IRL in real life. Just because I like tower moments for the growth and expansion doesn't mean I like physical pain. I don't like physical pain, okay? I'm not a fan of any pain really, but I know that some pain is just like, when your legs hurt, because just like growing pains are necessary to grow. Like, growing pains I don't necessarily mind as much. It's like inconsequential or avoidable pains. It's like, I'm over that. But I think this Six of Wands energy would never allow for these burdens to be lifted because there's something egoic or something about buying into the system where you have to suffer before you make it. Suffer and sacrifice for pennies. And it's like, how people sell, you'll see people talk on the internet about how, this person and that person, and so many of these people will say, like, if you work hard enough, you'll succeed in life. But I know people that work 2, 3, like, I know people who make multiple jobs and they're still barely getting by. And so just working hard, and like, there's this very like fractional telling, and this fractional, again, it's the shield. We don't even see, like, look at how much of the sword that we don't even see because it's hidden behind the shield, right? We can't even see the hilt of the sword, really. Well, like, we see the pommel stone, but is it the cross guard on the sword before the blade starts or something like that? Because it's like it's hidden behind the shield. And that's this old masculine method of control of like partial information and the establishment of certain infrastructures and the partial rewarding and breadcrumbing to incentivize or to keep people running the race even when they get tired. But when you come from this Ten of Pentacles dynasty energy, when you come from this knowing of the abundance that exists around us, it puts you in a space where spirit is like, okay, it's time for you to give this up. Then we can give it up. It's time for you to move on. Then we can move on. It's time to close this chapter, so we can close this chapter. And it's not this fighting through these towers to try to maintain a semblance of something that then it's like what we're feeding into the scale is struggle, and what we're feeding into the scale is resistance. And so we get more struggle and we get more resistance. But there's a passive acceptance here. Not a passive, there's an active acceptance here, right? Active is the yang. No, acceptance is the yin. This is yin yang. So it is passive with the yin. Passive action is aligned action. Because it's like it's a passive action, but it's like, well, what's a passive action? It's not being passive aggressive. But it is. It's this like work smarter, not harder type energy. Because here's the element of spirit, the only unicorn in the whole deck, also the twin to the horse of death, that is offering us this cup, offering us the spiritual knowing and knowledge that will put us in the position to allow the divine to assist us with our burdens instead of like burdening the divine with everything. It's like we're buying into these systems, and then also at the same time we're sort of like, there's a need to know what we're offering. And also with this Two of Cups, it could speak to the energy of reciprocity, right? It's like we offer this cup up to the divine, and then the divine gives us right back what we pour up into it. Six, 6, 10, 10. Interesting. Fire, earth, earth, fire. Okay. All right. Oh yeah. So I do want to get like 2 energy oracle cards. Actually, we'll get 3. And these will be overall, so I'm not going to get like 5, right? So it'll be first row, second row, third row. Basically clarifying these, I guess. On guys, yeah, I feel like we're kind of sort of living in a time of release, and if we don't release, that's fine. But oh my gosh, I'm trying to shuffle midair. Maybe I shouldn't try. Ooh, I didn't do the whole bridge thing, but that's fine. Okay, I want 3 cards. How did I do these? I pulled them all off the top, didn't I? Alright, we're gonna stop here. Is this the Angel of Love? The Angel of Love is coming out at the bottom with this New World Order. And then there is a sort of love that the mother has for its babies where it will gladly sacrifice for them. And the mother, it's like I said, like she's about to be a little pile of ash until she's reborn. And so she just has to trust and hope that her babies will do what is in alignment for them to do. And it's like, again, there's no way for her to know what they're going to grow up to be. And in some ways, in a lot of ways, I'll say in some ways, a mother shouldn't also put conditions on her love, right? And the Angel of Love is this sort of unconditionality where this mother will gladly sacrifice herself for her babies, not knowing what they're going to do with what she gave to them, not knowing who they're going to be when they grow up, what influences they're going to allow to ride in their life. And it's another thing that's really interesting because now there's the rise of, like, we don't even call like internet celebrities like celebrities or something, like you put the web instead of the lab, right? We could have called them celebrities, but we call them influencers. We have all these influencers who are influencing all of these people to do so much. Influence, and it's like anyone can be an influencer nowadays, and anyone can be an influencer in the sense that anyone can sort of rise to that level. There's no vetting. There's no background check on people who are like influencers, right? It's just like whoever has the talent, the skill, the know-how, the whatever to get that big, they are that big. And so we have these influencers because people, even celebrities, are like, we're all people, but we have these influencers who are influencing people to do certain things. And it's like there's this element of self, of validating it that is kind of sort of missing. And then you get influencers who get into all kinds of trouble, right? Oh wow, I didn't think I had anything in reverse in this deck. I'm gonna honor it. Journey came out in reverse for the tower, which is, I mean, I guess it's fitting, because that's what a tower does, right? It's like this sudden shift and change in direction. But it's also because, like, what was necessary to get us to this point is different than what will be necessary to thrive afterward, right? It's like if you graduate from elementary school and you go into middle school, you still have to build upon the knowledge that you got in elementary. You can't be like, okay, I went through this little graduation ceremony, who some people say don't mean nothing, but I don't see what's wrong with celebrating. Holiday, right? Celebrate, right? So, oh, I don't know why I just found that so funny. But it's like there's still this progression that needs to happen, and you can't hold on to elementary your whole life. And I think that's kind of sort of what we have the tendency to do. It's like, oh, well, this was working for this time, so I'm just going to keep doing this ad infinitum. But we still have to grow and adapt and change and evolve with the times. And it isn't necessarily the times that we need to change with. We just need to continuously allow ourselves to be in this space of continual improvement, you know? Also, it's like these journeys, we could have hit a sudden halt, a sudden stop, a sudden change in plans, a sudden pause where we were moving so fast, and it's almost like some people could get a little bit of whiplash. It's like when I was in middle school, we had this one bus driver who just did not care. And she was like, if y'all kids don't behave, I'm going to take this bus back to the school. And we going to sit there until y'all get some act right. And then I'm going to take y'all home. And she would do it too. And so there was this one girl who was just standing up in the aisle on the bus. And she told that girl to sit down. And that girl was not listening. And so she hit the brake. And that girl, she hit the flow, and it was funny. It was entertaining, but it's kind of sort of that, like, it's that feeling of the rug being pulled from under our feet. But if we're not still, or if the rug isn't pulled like directly outward, then we can lose our balance. But if we have a good foundation, and if we're solid in that foundation, and if we take the things as they come instead of almost letting the lessons pile up to the point where this tower moment is necessary, right? It's like the inspectors are giving us these warnings. Hey, like, this part of your foundation it's rotting, it's wearing out, it needs to be replaced, and it's gonna cost a bit of money. But you're like, well, the building's been standing for 50 years, and I can save money by doing whatever else. And then one day the building comes down, and the inspector's like, see, I told you. And now you got to spend more money rebuilding it, or you just go out of business because you can't afford to rebuild. But if you would have rebuilt when it was smaller, when it was affordable, then you would have been all right. A stitch in time saves nine type energy, right? If you stitch it up here when it's a small tear, before that tear gets bigger and bigger, it's like you save nine more stitches because you stitched up here. A stitch in time saves nine. But again, like, this is that energy over here of knowing that, okay, I can afford this cost right now, I'll pay it, and then I'll make whatever back. This energy is like, well, I'm on a good streak right now, I'm on top of the world, I can't be stopped, ain't nothing going, um, knock me off my block. And then this tower happens and you're on the ground, just like that girl who didn't sit down when the bus driver told her to. Now the bus driver is telling you to sit down because the bus driver has control over the bus. And the bus driver knows, because she was getting annoyed. So she knows that if you don't sit down and listen to her, she about to pump this brake. But she's not like, hey, if you don't sit down, I'm gonna pump the brake on that butt and watch you go fly into the back of the bus. So, face up against the glass on the emergency exit. Even though that didn't happen in real life, she just kind of sort of fell, and it was funny. And I feel like I can laugh because she should have listened. But again, like, the bus driver knows that, like, if you don't sit down, she's gonna pump this brake. And so sometimes it's best to just listen to the bus driver. Now, the bus driver is this energy more so than it would be this energy, right? Because this energy, there's this illusion of control over here, but then this energy is connected to the energy of life itself that can't be so easily controlled, right? So if spirit is telling you to do something, then listen. If man is telling you to do something, feel free to question it. If man is insinuating what spirit is insinuating, this would always be the truth to go to. In my personal opinion, that has been further clarified and strengthened within me because of the times that we live in. I don't ask, what is man trying to get me to do? And let me do the opposite. I just go like, spirit, what am I supposed to do right now? Because spirit may be like, okay, it's time for you to sit down, shut up, and just listen. Then it's time for me to sit down and shut up and listen. And it ain't necessarily falling into the programming of this Queen of Swords. It's me listening to whatever my Queen of Pentacles is telling me to do, because Queen of Pentacles is the bus driver. And Queen of Swords will be that kid that's telling you that you ain't got to listen to the bus driver, and then who will laugh at you at the same time when you fall. Now we're going to be ending this off with the woman holding a coin. She's got the whole world in her hands. She's got the whole world in her hands. Woman holding the coin, Queen of Pentacles, who is a woman holding the coin, which is the orb in this deck. It's actually kind of short of an apple. It reminds me of Idun's apples, um, partially because Russell uses the Odin Tarot, or the Odin deck. I love wrestling around. Check them out. um, Also, it reminds me of the golden apples of the Hesperides. And I think the golden apples of the Hesperides is the trial that Hercules had, where he held the world up for Atlas, so Atlas can go and get the apples for him. But then the gods were like, "Oh, you didn't get. Oh, it's 345 right now. Look at this, 345. If y'all can see it, maybe not. Well, it's like 346 now. So I miss like. Well, actually, I saw like a few of the synchronistic numbers yesterday, but it's like I'll miss like it's so interesting because like yesterday I see 1101 a lot, which is a 111, but then I won't see like 111, but I saw 111 today. Um, I'm gonna look this up before I forget. But it's like I've been seeing these increasing numbers a lot. So like 123 and 234 and 456 and 567. I'm kidding, 567 isn't the time. Um, but I've been seeing those a lot, more so than just like the straight up repeating numbers lately. Um, haven't really. I feel like the only ones I've been missing though, like I haven't seen 1234 as much lately. But all of the other ones, like 123, 234, 345, 456, I'll see those. Golden, golden apples of the Hesperides. Here we go. Yeah, because the gods were like, "Oh, you didn't go get those apples. Atlas got the apples." And Hercules is like, "But I held up the entire world so that these apples could be retrieved." Like, I don't understand. What do you mean? I was like, "Oh yeah, sorry, that doesn't count." So here we go. How did Hercules get the golden apples? In gratitude, Prometheus told Hercules the secret to getting the apples. Oh, this is interesting because the last time I read about Hercules' labors, we found out that, when Chiron got poisoned by the arrow from the Hydra, Chiron couldn't cure the poison, so he traded his immortality basically for death. And he switched places with Prometheus. So because of Hercules, Chiron took on Prometheus's punishment, and to reward Hercules for that, I guess, Prometheus told him how to get the apples of the Hesperides. He would have to send Atlas after them. Yep, exactly. In gratitude, Prometheus told Hercules the secret to getting the apples. He would have to send Atlas after them instead of going himself. When Atlas returned with the golden apples, he told Hercules he would take them to Eurystheus himself and asked Hercules to stay there and hold the heavy load for the rest of time. But we know Hercules didn't stay there forever. So everybody is going to Hercules to get out of their ordeals and trying to. But it's like Hercules is like getting somebody else. Like Hercules got Chiron to get Prometheus out of his ordeal. And now Atlas is like, I'll deliver these apples for you, yeah, but you gotta stay there forever. Forever, ever? Forever, ever. Oh, this is not great. I am interested how the story ends, so bear with me. Okay, so let's see. Hercules' first problem, and again, Hercules had to do these originally 10 labors that turned into 12 labors because it was some kind of redemption for something that he had done. I don't remember, but I think Hera hated Hercules because he was one of Zeus's kids, probably. And Hercules got thrown into a fit of rage and he killed his family. And these 10 labors were to atone for that. but the 10 labors turned into the 12 labors because some of them got off on a technicality. And I think the Aegean stables, that was the first labor where it didn't count, because basically he had to clean these like stables, but he ended up getting a river to clean them instead. I don't know how he redirected the course of the river, or maybe he moved the stables to the river, where the river came through and cleaned the stables for Hercules, but the gods were like, well, you didn't clean them yourself, so that doesn't count. And I think these apples of the Hesperides were the second one, where it was like, well, you didn't get the apples yourself, so it didn't count, even though he had to hold up the entire weight of the world. So I'm going to try to read this quickly, but we'll see. Poor Hercules, after 8 years and 1 month. Hold on, wait. After 8 years and 1 month, after performing 10 superhuman labors, he was still not off the hook. Eurystheus demanded 2 more labors from the hero, since he did not count the Hydra or the Aegean stables as properly done. Okay, so the Hesperides don't count. It was the Hydra? And I can't remember what happened with the Hydra, but I know he got the poison from the Hydra that tipped the arrow that injured Chiron, that got Prometheus off of being chained to the rock where the eagle or the bird would come and peck out his liver every day as his punishment for giving fire to man. And then, yeah, so it's this whole like back and forth. It almost reminds me of one of those video games where there's like this really, really good weapon or whatever in the game, but it involves a lot of trading between different people. So the Hydra and the Aegean stables were not properly done. Eurystheus commanded Hercules to bring him golden apples which belonged to Zeus, king of the gods. Hera had given these apples to Zeus as a wedding gift, so surely that task was impossible. Hera, who didn't want to see Hercules succeed, would never permit him to steal one of her prized possessions, would she? Again, Hercules was mad. Hera was mad at a whole bunch of people, and it's almost an extra insult to Hera that Hercules was named Heracles. But that's fine. And she couldn't take it out on Zeus because, Zeus is Zeus, so she punished the kids. And again, there's this certain element of like a pecking order or beating down on whoever you can instead of taking it up with whatever. And I talked about that up here, didn't I? Instead of taking it out on that proper whoever, there's this element of deflection and holding someone else responsible. These apples were kept in a garden in the gate. We've seen that a lot, or I've seen that a lot, at the northern edge of the world, and they were guarded not only by a 100-headed dragon named Ladon, or Ladon, but also by the Hesperides, nymphs who were daughters of Atlas, the titan who held the sky and the earth upon his shoulders. Hercules' first problem was that he didn't know where the garden was. He journeyed through Libya, Egypt, Arabia, and Asia, having adventures along the way. He was stopped by Kychnos, son of the war god Ares, who demanded that Hercules fight him. After the fight was broken up by a thunderbolt, Hercules continued on to Illyria, where he seized the sea god Nereus, who knew the garden's secret location. And I think Nereus, yeah, if you watch Disney's Hercules, it looks like Nereus was the blue horseman who he beat up in the beginning of the movie, who was harassing Meg. Maybe not. This image doesn't really make it any harder. Or was that Nessus? That might have been Nessus. I don't remember. It could have been Nessus. I think it was actually Nessus and not Nereus. So, the secret location, Nereus transformed himself into all kinds of shapes, trying to escape, but Hercules held tight and didn't release Nereus until he got the information he needed. Continuing on his quest, Hercules was stopped by Antaeus, the son of the sea god Poseidon, who also challenged Hercules to fight. Hercules defeated him in a wrestling match, lifting him off the ground and crushing him. Because, when Antaeus touched the earth, he became stronger. So Antaeus was like, pretty much unbeatable while his feet were connected to the earth, while he was grounded. So Hercules made him ungrounded so he could take him out. So we got Hercules first. He took out Nereus, who shifted into all these different shapes, trying to escape the grasp of Hercules, but Hercules maintained that chokehold. And then it's like, well, why are all these gods trying to stop Hercules from accomplishing these tasks in the first place? I don't know. I don't remember that much. Thank you for going on this journey with me. I mean, either you do or you don't, but if you do, thank you, because I'm way into like mythology. I got into Norse mythology a little bit like 2 summers ago. First, I watched the Almighty Johnsons, which was connected to Norse mythology, because God of War, the new God of War game, came out connected to Norse mythology, so that got me into the Almighty Johnsons. And when I was watching that, a friend of a friend, she's my friend, who's one of the coolest people I know. We were supposed to get drinks, and it never happened, unfortunately. But she had just so happened to get a book from the library that was all about Norse mythology. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm so into Norse mythology right now because of God of War and the Almighty Johnsons. And she was like, you want to borrow the book? I was like, really? She was like, yeah, like take it. So I read that book. And now a few years later, I come across Rustling Around, and he talks a fair amount about Norse mythology and the runes when they come up. And it's also interesting because last time I was on here, I was talking about Balder, because Hod came out. I think that was on my Legacy channel when I was doing the Archangel Power cards and the Angelarium Oracle cards. And that, was it the Lionsgate reading? It might have been. And Hod, and I was like, oh, that's interesting because Hod is one of the names of the Norse gods. And so I looked it up, and Hod was the person that was tricked by Loki into killing Balder, who everybody loved because Balder was impervious, but not to mistletoe. And then Balder actually came out in one of Russell's readings, and I was like, huh, I just talked about that mistletoe, didn't I? And being tricked by Loki. Loki is a shapeshifter. Nereus is a shapeshifter. Loki actually got pregnant as a female horse, I believe, maybe. And that's why, is it Sigyn or something like that? Like, one of Odin's horses is actually a child of Loki, because, and then Loki and Odin are two of the gods who have taken female form before, I believe. And it's like people would laugh at Loki for taking a female form because there may have been some magic that only females could do or something like that. Something like that. But then Odin also did it. Norse mythology is interesting. Anyway, Russell weaves it and uses it sometimes. I'm into mythology, long story short. Alright? And so again, it's like Antaeus couldn't be defeated as long as his feet touched the ground. As long as he was grounded, he was undefeatable. So how did Hercules beat Antaeus? He ungrounded him. And that says something here about maybe less ungrounding, more being plugged into. I'm not wearing my glasses, so that's why I'm like, where is this? Maybe it's more like this is the grounded energy, the Queen of Pentacles into the Ten of Pentacles, knowing that it will be provided for you. This Queen of Swords into with the Six of Wands is more ungrounded because it's sort of like self-effacing. What is that? Hey Siri, define self-effacing.
Okay, I found this on the web for define self-effacing. Check it out.
Girl, you couldn't just tell me. Apparently not. Self-effacing, having or showing a tendency to make oneself modestly or shyly inconspicuous. His passions and faith run soul deep. His gentle wit is always self-effacing and never insulting. So self-effacing is not the word I wanted. I didn't think it was, but it just popped into my mind. First known use of self-effacing is 1854. That's a 9-9. That's an 18. Yeah, that's an 18, which is interesting. 1, 8, 9, 5, 14, 4, 18. It's an 18, 9. Yeah, that's what I said. 18. Duh. Not self-effacing, but it's like this energy will keep you ungrounded because it will keep you constantly seeking something new, so constantly seeking something more, right? And that's one of the reasons why with social media some people have the struggles that they have with it, because there's this constant comparison with other people, never really appreciating, validating, loving the self. And when you love the self and you can find value in the self, and you're not It's like you can appreciate other people without having to compare yourself to them. And it's also interesting because I saw someone's Taurus reading yesterday. I've kind of sort of been watching a lot of readings lately, honestly. Not gonna lie, NGL. Just because I'm interested to see what's out there, right? I feel like for a long time I was kind of sort of fixed in what I was taking, and so it's just like, what else is out there? Not because I'm trying to purposefully dilute some stuff, but it's all about the release. It's about letting go. So anyway, let's get back to the story. The only way Hercules could defeat Antaeus was to unground him, and I think that's very interesting because as long as Antaeus was grounded, he was undefeatable. Also, Antaeus is the son of Poseidon, which is Neptune. Neptune is Pisces, and I was feeling this Piscean energy again as the space of our collective. It's the space of the collective subconscious and the direction that we want to go into that is beginning to run anti-parallel. Not anti-parallel. It's beginning to run against the narrative that the current system has kind of sort of established for us. And it's almost like since the collective subconscious is so heavily stacked against how things are and how things have been running, and especially now that we're getting these newer energies coming in through the younger generations that is very Uranian and Aquarian, and like, this mess ain't gonna fly, this stuff need to change. It could be Plutonian, but the Scorpio and Pluto generation, which is my generation of Pluto, even though Pluto is in Capricorn right now, so I guess Pluto will be sliding into Aquarius within the next 5 years, I believe. It may actually be longer than that because I think in like 2023, America is going to have its Pluto conjunction at 27 degrees in Capricorn. And America is really close to a Pluto conjunction. It was like 2 degrees away before Pluto retrograded. And y'all know Pluto was slow. Anyway, back to this. It's just interesting that he had to unground Antaeus to defeat him. And I did talk about, like, if you are still, when that rug is pulled from under your feet, you're going to be fine. It's just like when you pull the tablecloth away, or pull the tablecloth under some dishes in a vase really quick so they still stand afterwards. But if you're moving, if you're not stable when it gets pulled, or if it's not pulled in a way that keeps you stable, which means that if you need to be shaken in some areas, it will shake you in those areas. Then after that comes a rebalancing period. But if you're good before that, it doesn't matter who attempts to unground you, it's like you're still grounded. But Hercules ungrounded Antaeus and beat him. So, oh girl. I just read a word and I don't know how. Ooh, okay, well, this is Hercules, okay? So continuing on his quest from Nereus, Hercules was stopped by Antaeus, the son of the sea god Poseidon, who also challenged Hercules to fight. Hercules defeated him in a wrestling match, lifting him off the ground and crushing him, because when Antaeus touched the earth, he became stronger. After that, Hercules met up with Busiris, or Busiris, sorry, another of Poseidon's sons, was captured and was led to an altar to be a human sacrifice. But Hercules escaped, killing Busiris, and journeyed on. Everybody is trying to stop. So Ares and Neptune, Mars and Neptune are trying to stop Hercules. Mars was conjuncting Neptune for a minute. Mars was like 15 degrees Pisces when the node shifted. No, not when the node shifted. It was when we had that full moon in Sagittarius. It was like the sun was 15 Gemini, the moon was 15 Sag, and then Mars was 15 in Pisces. So we have Mars, and then 5 degrees later, Mars conjuncted Neptune. And when Mars squared the nodes at later degrees of Pisces, it's probably 28 or 29 by that time, maybe 28 degrees. It was still in loose conjunction with Neptune at 20 degrees. So both Mars and Neptune are trying to stop Hercules in his journey right now to get these golden apples. And then the golden apple is presented here again by this queen of pentacles. So Hercules came to the rock on Mount Caucasus, where Prometheus was chained. Prometheus, a trickster who made fun of the gods and stole the secret of fire from them, was sentenced by Zeus to a horrible fate. I didn't know Prometheus was a trickster! I didn't know Prometheus but he was a Titan. I think Prometheus and Epimetheus, they were Titans, like twin Titans. So it would make sense that they didn't like the gods because the gods overthrew the Titans. I didn't know he was a trickster, though. I thought he stole the flame from the gods and gave it to man because he liked man. But maybe he just wanted man to rise up and kill the gods like the gods had risen up and killed the Titans. So now, I've never questioned Prometheus in my life. And then here we have the Ace of Wands down here, which is that fire that could have been stolen from the gods. And now Prometheus is about to teach Hercules how to steal this apple from the gods, basically. Goodness. This is interesting, y'all. I'm sorry, but I'm not. Okay. So Hercules came to the rock on Mount Caucasus, where Prometheus was chained. Prometheus, a trickster who made fun of the gods and stole the secret of fire from them, was sentenced by Zeus to a horrible fate. He was bound to the mountain, and every day a monstrous eagle came, eagle being the energy of Scorpio, and it is on this world card. A monstrous eagle came and ate his liver, pecking away at Prometheus's tortured body. Now the liver is an organ responsible for purification. And so it's interesting that it's like Prometheus gave man this element of fire associated with purification. And so to punish him, the organ or one of the organs within his own body responsible for purification, his own system, was pecked out by this eagle every morning. I mean, he still had a kidney, though. Kidneys do that too, right? Or maybe the eagle went for the kidney too, but they just didn't tell that part. After the eagle flew off, Prometheus's liver grew back, and the next day he had to endure the eagle's painful visit all over again. It grew back because Prometheus was immortal. This went on for 30 years until Hercules showed up and killed the eagle. Hold up, wait. I might need to go back and read the story of the Erymanthian boar on this website because I thought, well, or was it both? Because I thought they said that Chiron switched places with Prometheus. It would be so bogus if Chiron switched places with Prometheus, died, and then Hercules killed the eagle. But at this point, Hercules is like killing everybody. So I feel like the story of Hercules, like God of War, kind of sort of took it a little bit from the tragic backstory and now to the senseless killing. Until Hercules showed up and killed the eagle. In gratitude, Prometheus told Hercules the secret to getting the apples. He would have to send Atlas after them instead of going himself. What was that? Atlas hated holding up the sky and the earth so much that he would agree to the task of fetching the apples in order to pass his burden over to Hercules. Everything happened as Prometheus had predicted, and Atlas went to get the apples while Hercules was stuck in Atlas's place with the weight of the world literally on his shoulders. And that's why we're talking about all of this. And I brought up Atlas and Hercules, I think when I did one of those weekly releases, and I was actually going to do one today. I was going to do one yesterday. That didn't happen. I was going to do one a few days ago. That ain't happened. I'm procrastinating or waiting until the time is like right. Atlas hated his burden, gladly gave it to Hercules. Oh my gosh, I'm so conflicted. I don't know who to side with in this story. When Atlas returned with the golden apples, he told Hercules he would take them to Eurystheus himself, and asked Hercules to stay there and hold the heavy load for the rest of time. Hercules slyly agreed, but asked Atlas whether he could take it back again, just for a moment, while the hero put some soft padding on his shoulders to help him bear the weight of the sky and the earth. Atlas put the apples on the ground and lifted the burden. Y'all already know where this is going. Atlas who thought he would get Hercules to hold the weight of the world forever, put the apples on the ground and lifted the burden onto his own shoulders. And so Hercules picked up the apples and quickly ran off, carrying them back uneventfully to Eurystheus. So uneventfully meaning that he didn't encounter any more gods or the children of gods trying to stop him. Come on, Atlas, you should have seen that one coming. There was one final problem because they belonged to the gods. The apples could not remain with Eurystheus. After all the trouble Hercules went through to get them, he had to return them to Athena, who took them back to the garden of the northern edge of the world. Athena took the apples back to the garden. After all that trouble and the dead demigods. And I wondered low-key if Atlas knew that those apples would have to go back to the garden anyway. And so it's like Atlas wouldn't be punished like Prometheus was for giving something of the gods to somebody. And also he can get out of his own burden if Hercules agreed to keep that. It's getting a little dark on my end. But yeah, what card was this? I don't even remember. I know it's not the garden and the gate. Oh, it's the woman holding a coin. The woman holding a coin. What's at the bottom of the deck? I'm interested. Bottom of the deck is... What is this? Contracts? Yeah, it's contract. Contract at the bottom of the deck. And we just, heard about all these agreements that Hercules kind of sort of low-key violated. But yeah, the woman holding a coin... The Queen of Pentacles, which is another woman holding a coin. It's about... Now, the woman holding a coin can be about worth, and it can be about financial gain and an increase in financial stability. But with this woman holding a coin connected to the space of the Fool, the Page of Wands, and the Two of Cups, and then we have this Queen right here, it's about aligning oneself to that limitless. And yeah, that's what I got. That's where I'm going to leave this. Stay grounded as best you can. Allow the things, and again, it's like even when things shifted and changed, Hercules maintained his grip. I really thought that these cards were all upright, so I don't know why Journey came out in reverse. And looking at these, like every other card is upright. So, no coincidence that Journey was like the only card in reverse, and it came out. So, I'm actually going to get the final card later. We're going to come back in here. We're going to get the last major... Bottom of the deck is the Empress. Who's behind the Empress? The Wheel of Life. The Wheel of Life and the Empress is the bottom of the deck. The Ivory Shield, Queen of Cups, is the bottom. And the Dark Horse, Seven of Wands, is also the bottom. The Empress, the Queen of Cups, and the Seven of Wands. I feel like that's the space of maintaining spiritual and emotional integrity, regardless of everything happening on the outside. And again, it's kind of sort of giving me, and I don't, it's taking me back to that Five of Swords energy of sticking true to these spiritual truths in a time of confusion and darkness. And again, it's that energy of those who will find their own light in the space of darkness will be, and it's like, it originally felt like, no, it was just like they would come into a space of mastery, and it's not that hard to imagine if you've been able to float in all this time and maintain how strong you would be after things sort of settle, right? But then again, the analogy and metaphor evolved maybe by June. It was like there are people who are going to navigate out of the darkness before the fog lifts and stops distorting the light. But I didn't see until like June or July that it's because they would come into their own light, and the light would radiate from the inside out and have this a clearing in the fog where they could see around them. And again, that's kind of sort of one of the reasons why this all happened. Okay, the Keeper. I love that. Bottom of the deck is Death. The Reaper and the Keeper. The Reaper and the Keeper. And that is the twin horse to the Knight of Cups. Even though the Knight of Cups is a unicorn and this one is not. So we got the Reaper and the Keeper. This transformation is going to illuminate all of these things that have, in some way, shape, form, or another, been kept from us. It's also interesting that in the space of this global pandemic, that the U.S. government would choose to declassify some of the stuff that has remained classified relating to UFOs specifically. And there's apparently like off-world vehicles, aka like UFOs, but I guess they're not UFOs if they're identified. But they're like, apparently it's been released and confirmed by the Pentagon maybe, and that was a minute ago, a few weeks ago, where they were like, yeah, we have off-world vehicles that were not made on Earth, like in the basement, just chilling down there. And then they declassified those videos that surfaced of the air pilots or whoever that engaged with the UFOs. They were like, yeah, those are legit. Oh, that's way too many. Oh, so the Page of Wands, the Ace of Wands, and that Archangel Commander, King of Swords, who just keep coming out. It's all about making us into warriors. Spiritual warriors. With this, like this element of spiritual warriorship, it involves a knowing of the self. A sacred knowing of the sacred self. And because it's like, that's the part that would keep us from misusing these things, I guess. And then here's that Knight of Wands with the Keeper. So I think there's also been this space of like purifying our hearts and our desires before, again, we move forward with whatever this is. But like I said, it's just interesting that in this space. And then there was, after they, the Seven of Swords, the Rogue. Now, I'm not going to take this because I didn't take those cards that just came out. But with the Seven of Swords Rogue, it's like while we are asleep, while we're asleep, then there are these things that it's like we don't even know that we're losing. And there are these things that can't be taken. And so if you feel like anything has been taken from you, or if you feel under threat, if you feel under siege, it's probably because, not probably because, but it is related to an element of being in one's own power. And realizing that there are certain things that can never be taken, only lost. I pulled some cards for somebody a while ago, and I remember there was like this tower energy, and I think the Seven of Swords came out, and it was very much like Flynn from Tangled, and it was like, it feels like there's someone who's like busted into your tower, who convinced you or made you think that they stole something from you. But just like the golden apples of the Hesperides, the things in this tower cannot exist outside of this tower. And so they didn't actually steal it. The best they could do was try to hide it from you. Just like when he hid the crown, and then Rapunzel was like, oh, this crown that I found? And she was like, oh. Right, maybe I'm not remembering the movie correctly. But it kind of sort of brings back that energy. It's like there are certain things that can't be stolen from you, but you can forfeit them and the not wielding of them. And I guess they can kind of sort of be hidden from you in the space of illusion and twisted dreams, right? That Seven of Swords, being asleep. But yeah. So we end up with the Vagabond. The Five of Pentacles, now the Five of Swords. In this deck, the Vagabond is being in a space of potentially needing to reach out for help, maybe being too proud to do so, but just like not reaching out for help when you may need it. Honestly, in the context of this, it could be because was it not the Five of Pentacles that came out with the Five of Swords in that angel spread when I was like, Spirit is going to be taking a back seat to get you to come into a place of your own power and your own trust and your own understanding. And there's a lot of like hand holding in the past that isn't going on, and it's for us to stay on the porch with this Five of Swords, even though with the Five of Pentacles, oops, oh my gosh, I just knocked my whole little selenite thing right over, just not paying attention. But again, it was like things are a little quiet right now to get you to see, because it's like, you know, when you're constantly getting help, there are just things that you'll never do. And it's kind of sort of the energy, if we're talking about the age of Pisces, it's kind of sort of the energy that a lot of people put on the Pisces. A lot of people would be like, you know, Pisces rules older age and the life beyond. And so sometimes, just like some elderly people, Pisces can act as if they're incapable, come out with a little bit of crocodile tears or something, and then have somebody do something for them that they could have done themselves. And I guess it's coming out of that energy when it's like we need to take some kind of, the man holding a heart, but with anxiety. I was excited for that man holding a heart too. Cause I'm ready. I'm just so ready. Contract with the man holding the hearts, but like a good contract. You know, not one of those questionable ones. One of those contracts that you sign and then you wait for the 2 years to get out of it so you can go to a different phone company or internet service or whatever. You're like, I'm just waiting for my contract to be up so I can go somewhere else where I can get a better rate because I can save on that cancellation fee. But I guess going back up here with this tower, that Queen of Swords and the Six of Wands, when the building inspector was telling you just pay the cancellation fee and get out of this contract, you may be locked into something that you don't even want. Because let's say for whatever reason you hit the spot you in now, your credit tanks and you can't even go anywhere else after that contract is up. That's just an example, because I don't think phone companies necessarily look at your credit score and be like, yeah, no, you're not getting a plan from us, sorry. But again, it's like, pay that cancellation fee, because it's like you'll end up saving more in the end anyway. Right? If you're overpaying by $50 and your cancellation fee is like $150, after 3 months, you get that money back. The card that came out is another angel, but it's the Angel of Strength this time. We had the Angel of Love before, and bottom of the deck is Community. We got Community with the Angel of Strength. This is a beautiful energy. Honestly, this could be your community, but I'm kind of sort of getting the vibe that the community is speaking to the community of angels that are sort of like encamped around you and rooting for you and waiting for a directive in some way that isn't, it's like more of an order than a request. And it's not an order in the terms of like a demand. It's an order in the feeling of like, you have come into your divine birthright. Now these angels, these benevolent spirits, these guides are ready to work with you to get you what you want and where you want to be. But your own desires need to be properly aligned first. And I'm actually going to read that Angel of Strength. I already put it back in the deck and I didn't even look at the number. So we're going to find it. But yeah, I feel like the community is like, you know, the Angel of Strength, the Angel of Love, and the Angel of Balance. But the Angel of Strength is the one that is forefront. And these might be like 39, because I think it's like 37, 38, 39. No, these are the chakras. So then it's like 32, 33, 34. 32 is the door to spirit. No, those are the doors. 33, door to romance. It's somewhere around here. Or is it like 48, 49, 50? Yeah, it's 48, 49, 50. Okay. So this was number 50, which is a 5. Angel of Strength is personal power and inner strength. This amazing angel brings the news that this is a time of increasing power for you. It is not the time to be passive or submissive, but to speak your truth and take action on your own behalf. On your own behalf. No, it ain't to be selfish, but it's to take action on your own behalf instead of putting the power in the hands of someone else to do so. But it's also about aligned action. So, and we're in a yang cycle. I remember last time I saw yin and yang in reverse, and it was like, oh, we're in a yang cycle, time to do stuff. You are capable of taking greater control and directing your own destiny, for the power that comes from within reaches out to the universe and beyond. Inner strength and unlimited resourcefulness flow through you at this time, helping you to create real results. And again, that unlimited resourcefulness that's flowing through you, I feel like it's tied to this community of angels that you have around you. Call upon this wonderful angel and on your own inner resourcefulness to bring you the focus and resolve to do what's necessary in order to make your dreams a reality. The affirmation here is, deep within me is an abiding strength that knows no bounds. I have all the power I need to achieve all that I want. And listen to it. I'm going to call myself out just a little bit because I've been in this place of, in this space of preparation and holding and waiting and preparation. But also at the same time, I've been getting lots and lots, not lots and lots, but I've been getting these little taps and these little nudges to reach out to certain people. And I don't always do it when I get them. And I've been not doing one of them, but I will do that. Excuse me. And so, yeah, I'm in this off here. I hope that y'all are doing everything you need to do. I feel like in this time, I kind of sort of partially feel like I should chill a little bit because I feel like there's not necessarily too much more to say. But I feel like it is also important to, or it doesn't hurt that some of these messages be reiterated in this time. For me personally, I'm staying as grounded and calm and centered as I am because I am. It's like this series of next steps that I've been following, and these challenges that I've been doing my best to arise to, and that I have been arising to, continually. And so it's like the chasms are a little less wide and require a little less leg strength and a little less, I don't want to say a little less faith, but I mean, it's like when you trust, it's not a leap to trust. There are some leaps, I guess, maybe, but anyway, it ain't about me. I hope y'all are all staying afloat. Stay grounded as best you can, because as soon as Hercules knock you off your feet, you're donezo. You can try to wiggle and wriggle out, but Hercules will keep his thumb on you, and Hercules may just be that tower. Whether that tower is going to come in and win regardless. And just let the tower take whatever it is that it's come to take. And again, if something is meant to come back, it'll come back in the next page, on the next chapter, on the next book. With that world card down here, don't be afraid to close out cycles, because these Uranus just went retrograde. So that may be a moment of reprieve, and maybe Uranus getting to work and shaking up some stuff that you should have got rid of a minute ago. But I don't know. Live life and see. Maybe that'll be my new thing. Live life and find out. No more cards. Just live life and find out. All right, bye.